In this video, you're gonna learn about the #1 middle delt exercise that very, very few people are doing. So let's just jump right into it. Here's a visual of the exercise. Now, at first, it looks weird. It's like, why are you laying down to do a lateral raise, Ben? Why are you taking up so much space? Why can't you just do dumbbell lateral raises like a normal human being? Well, to answer all these questions, I'm gonna explain to you why this variation is so unique. And not only that, but if you aren't in a gym situation where you feel like you can actually set this up, I'm gonna provide a bunch of different options for you that you can also do with cables. And then later in the video, I'm gonna show you a way to do it with dumbbells so that it's just as effective no matter what equipment you have access to. All right, so there are 3 main reasons why this exercise is so unique. #1 is the anatomy and the arm path that you're using and what specific part of your middle delt that allows you to target. #2 is the resistance challenge and how it's unique relative to traditional raises. #3 is the immense amount of stability that makes it super easy to load, progress, and challenge yourself in this exercise. Now, before we get into those 3 things, just really quickly, the easiest way to set this exercise up is just to pull a bench up to a rack and set the cables just a little bit above the height of the bench. Once you do that, all you're gonna do is basically cross your arms such that your right hand is grabbing the left cable and the left hand is grabbing the right cable. And then from there, all you gotta do is make a Y shape with your hands and just allow the cable to track parallel and opposite to either arm. Now, setting it up can be a little bit of a pain and a little bit annoying, but if you watch the way that I'm doing it here, this is a super simple technique to use to set it up every time. Now, you'll notice that I'm using cuffs, and this is a personal preference of mine, and I would recommend it to you as well. Just get a cheap pair of ankle cuffs on Amazon or something similar. If you don't have cuffs, later in the video, I'll show you how to set it up just the same way with handles. All right, so #1, what's unique about the anatomy and the arm path? Well, if you look at the way I'm doing this exercise, what you'll notice is that I'm not raising inward to outward like a normal or traditional lateral raise. What I'm doing is I'm angling the cable across my body on either hand, such that I'm grabbing the right cable with the left hand and the left cable with the right hand. And what this allows me to do is not just pull my arm inward and outward, but slightly forward and across my body to backward and behind my body. Imagine you're doing the dance, the YMCA, and you make the Y shape. That is kind of the end position for this motion. And all you're going to do is track your arm forward and downward across your body. And this is unique because if you think about your middle delt, you don't just have one portion of your middle delt. You actually have 3 major portions. You have the one that's right in the middle, you have the one that's kind of on the middle front, and then you have the one that's kind of on the middle back. And if you want to really understand the biomechanics of this, all that you really need to think about is, okay, if my arm is being pulled forward and across my body, the stuff that is on the other side of that joint, in other words, the back half of this middle delt and some of the rear delt, those are going to be the tissues that get stretched in this direction. And then to pull my arm in this direction, those tissues basically have to go and shorten. So allowing your arm to get stretched forward and kind of across your body and then moving outward in that direction is a unique path that's super neglected with any kind of traditional raise, because even with a dumbbell raise or a cable raise straight to the side, a lot of people end up sort of rotating their arm outward such that the front portion of the middle delt and the front delt get more biased. So a lot of people end up with these huge front delts and they lack basically anything on the back half of the middle delt and the front half of the rear delt. All right, the second thing that makes this exercise awesome is the resistance profile, which is a fancy way to say, where is it heavy, where is it light? And if you'll notice, in the bottom portion of the range, those cables are pulling pretty much 90 degrees from my arm, which basically means in this position, when the middle delt is most stretched and when it's strongest, there's the most amount of resistance on the arm. And what you'll notice is as I move the arm upward and backward into that Y position, not only is the cable dropping closer to my chest, which means it's lighter and easier on my shoulder, but from here to here, just think about what happens when your arm is falling downward and backward behind you. Gravity is actually now assisting you into that position. So because you're super weak in this position, making the resistance challenging here and also lying flat on your back allows you to make the top position proportionately easier, which in simple terms just means that as you go through the range of motion, there's a really fluid and uniform amount of challenge on the middle delt. And what you'll notice is if you watch the ends of all my sets to failure, the last rep ends up being incredibly slow, and that's because the resistance is perfectly aligned in terms of its challenge compared to my strength throughout the entire range of motion. Now, the third thing that makes this exercise awesome and unique is just the stability, which put simply just relates to the fact that you're laying down and you don't have to stabilize your spine or your hips or really anything else. You can just concentrate 100% on output through the middle delts. So unlike a traditional raise where you have to kind of worry about falling forward or backward or something similar, you don't have to worry about any of that. You could really just zero in on isolating the middle delts, which to be honest is quite difficult for a lot of people because it's not a huge muscle. Now, here's the cool part about this whole stability thing. You don't even need a bench. All you need to do is have 2 cables available to you on a column, and you can just lie on the floor. If you don't like lying on the floor, maybe just try to find a towel in the gym if your gym has towels, or simply just bring your own towel or sweatshirt. All you need is really 2 cables, and you can just set it up exactly the same way, just lying down on the floor versus on top of the bench. And you'll reap all of the same benefits of the specific and unique arm path, as well as the resistance profile and the stability if you're on the floor. All right, so I promised earlier that I would give you all alternatives to this setup if you just find it really clunky, you don't like to have to finagle the cables side to side, it's just awkward, uncomfortable, or maybe you're just only able to go to the gym at a busy time. So here are a couple different options, cable and dumbbell, that you can do that are much more convenient. The first thing that you can do is just copy the same exact motion done with a single arm with a single cable on one side of the cable column. All you need to do to set this up properly is basically just angle your arm in the exact same way, look at where your hand is and the height of it, and set the pulley at exactly that height. From there, all you're gonna do is make sure your opposite hand is pinned up against this cable stack so you can use it as a base of support and an anchor off of which to perform the motion. Now, here's the cool thing about this alternative is that you can actually get a deeper stretch across the front side of your body. Why? Well, obviously because you're not running into your other arm. And if you just go back and forth between arms and you're doing that one exercise in sequence, the rest for one arm can be the working set for the other arm. So you really won't need to add any extra time to your workout. Now, if your only gripe with the first variation is the fact that I'm wearing ankle cuffs and you feel like you have to wear cuffs, don't feel like that at all. But what I would recommend is if you're gonna use handles, instead of grabbing the handle like a normal human being might, stick your hand through the webbing of the handle and anchor the webbing of the handle on the back side of your hand so that grip isn't an issue. This may seem like something very minor, but for many people that I've worked with, this has been a game changer. And for me specifically, it's one of the things that has taken away my elbow pain on pretty much every single raise that I do. And while the clunkiness of the cables hitting each other might be kind of annoying if you do it 2 arms without cuffs, it's probably something that you can just get used to and more skilled at over time. And if you're really annoyed, you can simply just grab the actual balls themselves. The load on the stack probably isn't so heavy that it's gonna be hard to hold. All right, so what if you just have no cables whatsoever and you're like, Ben, how do I set this up with a dumbbell? Well, a traditional dumbbell raise, while it's a fine exercise, is not going to accomplish the same thing. So what I would recommend is to set a bench on a medium to low incline. Once you're on that bench, set up so that you're turned into your working arm so that your chest is facing the ceiling. Once you do that, guess what? You mimic that same arm path, arms stretching across the body, hold a dumbbell and basically just use the range of motion that is actually loaded. In other words, you don't want to be flailing your arm across your body this way such that the dumbbell is pulling you in this direction. So now you're just doing a chest exercise. You want to basically just stop when your arm gets in line with your body because that's where the dumbbell is actually going to be loading that back half of the middle delt. And again, even though this is a single arm variation, if you just go back and forth between arms in single sets, you're going to be able to do your workout in the same amount of time. Just take less rest between arms because one side's rest is the other side's working set. If you enjoyed learning about all these biomechanical principles and you yourself want to master them, check the link in the description. I have a 30-day beginner biomechanics course that's made for the person who's never learned about any of these things. It's super simple, super easy to understand, and you can understand everything you need to know about biomechanics in just 30 days or less. And if you purchase the beginner biomechanics course today, you'll get my full exercise library included for 80% off at checkout. So check that out. And by the way, if you're still watching and you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. It helps a lot. I'll see you all next time.